Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have Travis Chamber, and you're in for a treat. This dude makes some epic videos for big clients like Nordic Track, and he shares how to do video for digital and how we compare and contrast that with television. And the number one thing you need to get right, and it's not the camera, it's not the lighting, it's not the microphone, and it just warmed my heart to know what that is. So you're in for a treat. When we get into this, you'll understand why I keep talking about the Make Every Sale program. Because we talk about selling and the need to get that right. Everything you do, you make videos, you do ads, you do landing pages, you create content, you take a shower because you're trying to make a sale. You're trying to persuade somebody to like you or maybe to not like you, right? Great salespeople disqualify. You understand that magnets attract to the same degree that they repel. Okay, so disqualifying is a key fundamental that I talk about and teach in the Make Every Sale course. When you understand your power as a salesperson, that it's not the prospect's job to tell you yes or no. It's your job to tell them yes or no. When you can turn that around and when you understand the true role and the power you have, selling becomes fun, becomes sustainable, it becomes a way of life, it becomes a profession. That's the goal. That's what we get into in the Make Every Sale course. So why don't you join us? I recently added a 1-year money-back guarantee. You can join. You can make 12 equal monthly payments. Jump in, participate. We're on live calls pretty much 3 to 4 weeks out of every month. Every now and then I travel. Like last week, I was on my 25th reunion from the Air Force Academy. So we did not meet because honestly I was traveling, and then we were partaking of a little bourbon. So it was a good, fun time. But we're still online in the group. You can ask questions. But if I'm not traveling, we're doing live calls every week. And I still answer the questions in the private group. So get the best help on sales training, on marketing, on copywriting, on persuasion. Get the best training anywhere, all right? MakeEverySale.com. Come join us. Come hang out with us. And now let's hang out with Travis. Travis Chambers, all the way from Hawaii, calling me from vacation or whatever it is you're doing. Welcome to the Sales Podcast, man. How the heck are you?
Doing really good, man. Can't complain.
So what the heck? I'm looking at your website, chamber.media, and there are people dancing on treadmills. We make scalable social videos. What the heck is going on?
Well, we're selling at scale, I guess you could say. So we make these really large production videos, and then we run them as ads on Facebook and YouTube. And it's pretty cool, man. We test our creative and our messaging with people's credit cards.
Test it with their credit cards. What you mean with your clients' credit cards?
Well, no, with customers' credit cards. So it's pretty cool. As you know, a lot of times in sales, you never know if your message worked or not, right? You can ask, what are your concerns? You can overcome the concerns. What's really cool about running video through Facebook and YouTube, many variations of a video, is you get to see what works and what gets people to pull out their credit card and purchase. And we get some really cool data from that about sales psychology.
Well, all right. I mean, you do, right? But still, like you said, sometimes you don't know what's going to work. So on those that fail, you're still spending your own money, right?
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So we'll shoot a video, right? And then we'll basically make a ton of assumptions. So, you know, whatever the messaging point is, whether it's pain, discomfort, saving you time, you know, whatever the message is, we'll focus on different messages while we're doing the film shoot. And then we'll run tests with 4, 5, 6 versions of a video, cut in different ways, and we'll see what sells the best. And so it's not, you know, it doesn't always work perfectly well, but most of the time that helps us be able to figure out what's working, and then we're able to have a success, which is pretty cool.
So what are some common assumptions you're going to make about a prospect?
So, if whatever the product is, we'll have some assumptions about them, and it does vary, right? So let's just take Nerd Skincare, a project that we had, for example, right? Is an acne product. One of our assumptions is that people want an all-natural alternative, right? Another assumption is that people will buy into the fact that most acne products have benzoyl peroxide in them. And so one assumption is, let's make that the enemy. Let's make that sound really bad, which it is, and then we'll see if that works. Then a whole nother message is, let's get your acne cured so that you can have an easier time socially or feel more confident. Another message is using your body's own defenses, right? With this acne treatment, it helps your own body fight acne in a more natural way, in a healthier way, right? So I just laid out 4 or 5 different assumptions. Now, how do I know which one of those is going to sell the best? So we'll shoot the video with those messages in mind, and then we'll test different versions to see which one is the most persuasive, which is a really cool way to figure out what sells and what works.
All right. I mean, I'm going to play devil's advocate here because of course that makes sense, but now you're saying I need to make 4 or 5 videos, and the typical small business is struggling to make one. Right?
Yeah.
And now you're saying I got to make 4 or 5 and then pay money and run ads. And then it's like, okay, well, do I need alternate landing pages for each of those? Well, I got to make content. Then I got to have a follow-up sequence that's relative to each of those landing pages that are relative to the video. I always laugh people, well, does your software do A/B testing? I'm like, are you even doing A testing? No, right? Let's get you sending one email before you do an A/B split test of that email.
Yeah.
And so, obviously I'm talking about the smaller companies, the solopreneurs, the small businesses. But how can this be done affordably, for the smaller business?
Yeah. So you can do the same thing with images, which is kind of cool. Facebook ads gives you such powerful data, and, video is expensive, but images a lot of times are the cheap way to go. And that is what a majority of businesses use, right? Any business that's smaller than, $1 million or $2 million a year, most of them are doing image ads. So it's kind of the same deal. We had one client way long time ago before we started doing videos. We were just doing image ads before you could even run videos as ads on Facebook for an insole company, right? And this insole aligns your ankle properly, right? So there's tons of different assumptions we could make. Is this for athletes? Does
that help me with my jiu-jitsu ankle?
Maybe it would, man. Maybe it would.
All right, I'm getting it.
But you got one assumption over here of, and I'm glad you asked this question, Wes, because this question, you can do this at the beginning of a business for very cheap, and it can help save you a lot of money in the long run. So let's say you have an insole, right? What's going to get people to buy this insole? Is it athletes that want to increase their performance? Is it the guy who wants to run an Ironman and who wants to squeeze an extra 20 seconds a mile off of his time, or 10 seconds off of his mile when he's hitting the 20-mile marker? Or is this for 50, 60, 70-year-old people that are starting to get more back pain, and they're starting to feel these pains they've never had before? Is the insole for them? And so, okay, now we have 2 assumptions on who our customer is. Okay, so let's go do 2 tests to these 2 customers. And then once we do that, now let's test 3 or 4 assumptions on what's going to make this work for this customer. So for this Ironman guy, is it going to be the science behind it? Lots of big words and case studies and stuff like that. Or is it going to be more of an emotional thing where it's more of a lifestyle? Let's show a bunch of imagery of people. And then you go into your older person group, right? You test assumptions there. Is it going to be images of back pain that's going to get them relating? Is it going to be more of the technology about how it aligns your bones the whole way up? And so you can do that with image ads, and you can do that with copy, and you could do that with as little as spending $50 per test, which is pretty cool. And if you want, you could just send them all to your homepage with no landing pages. Just send them to your homepage, and then Facebook will report back to you and tell you which ones converted the best.
Right. Yeah, well, that's awesome. And in that case, we're still talking about a company, unless they're brand spanking new with a brand new launch, they're going to have some customer knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like you're starting in a total vacuum. And even if you're starting with a brand new product, you don't just wake up and say, you know what, I'm going to make insoles today because it's a solar eclipse. I mean, so even if you made something from scratch, it's because something happened. Maybe you're a physical therapist and you deal with senior citizens and who have back pain. So you're starting with some type of knowledge, right? And then you can take it from there. But and you're right that there's so much power with the analytics today in the digital space. I'm still a big believer, though, of deliver a powerful message in a powerful manner. I think sometimes we get too specific with our segmentation, and we don't allow a little bit of an overlap to let the message spill out, into their psyche, their consciousness. I mean, example I always give is like with my wife and me. I mean, we'll say that we are pregnant, but in reality, my wife's pregnant, right? I mean, we've had 7 kids. I've never personally carried a baby. So you may think, well, let me run an ad for this nursing bra just to 25 to 45-year-old active women who subscribe to whatever, jogging magazine and like a CrossFit page, right? But what about the men? I'm sitting here with a wife of 22 years that's carried 7 babies, and I'm like, if I happen to see a great ad about a nursing bra, I probably wouldn't buy it. I'd probably forward it to my wife. Maybe I'd click the ad and send them, hey, honey, they have a 20% off coupon. You've been talking about, getting back in the gym and blah, blah, blah. You see what I'm saying? I think in this digital age, we're getting too hyper-focused on the left-handed, blue-eyed albino CrossFitter that also got a perfect score on their SAT.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, are you seeing that? I mean, are people hyper-focused on the numbers instead of just getting a good message?
Yes. And we see data over and over again that proves that. And really, as long as you're not completely missing the mountain with your message, you're right. Sometimes, and I think the answer to your question is that sometimes volume and reach is more important than specificity.
Right.
So what was crazy with that nerd skincare example, is guess what targeting group converted the best? All women over the age of 20. All women. So what happened is you'll get charged a certain amount to target that albino CrossFitter with whatever else you said, right?
Right.
You'll get charged a lot of money to reach that very specific person, but you're not going to get charged as much money to reach all women. And what happens is with a video is people are self-qualifying. So they'll start watching the video and they'll self-qualify. So if they're clicking away in the first few seconds, that means they've already identified that this is not them. So they may see, oh, this is a skincare ad. Oh, I don't have, or this is an acne treatment. I don't have acne, so I'm out, right? So you're not going to get charged as much for those people. But then all these other people are self-qualifying, and they're getting roped in, and they're watching the whole way through. And because you're paying so much less for that big volume of people, it actually ends up being a lot more efficient. And so I think that might be true to you. Like what you're saying is the creative does have to be, universal, and we connect with people as humans, right? And a lot of people will they think that they're something, but they're actually something else, right? So I think that's a good point.
Now, all right, so let me understand this here, though, because we're talking about, you're saying you could do the same thing with images in your ads. You don't have to make all these videos, but then you're talking about people self-selecting themselves with the video. So could you run the same video and maybe have different headlines and calls to action, in the written word? But I guess if it's still the video, and if it starts out with acne or whatever, and I opt out before I see the all natural part, how do we get around that? Or is it just you're going to end up needing the multiple videos to speak to the segmented list?
Yes, that's where retargeting comes into play. Okay. So I think it was really profound what you said, that sometimes we're too hyper focused, and I mean, the sales funnel, right? You talk about getting people in the funnel, leads in your funnel, and then following up, figuring out their needs. And it is the exact same thing with social video, with digital marketing, is you usually have this broader video that has a lot of universal human appeal, where it's something that someone remembers and they're getting educated. And maybe you are slightly missing the message, or maybe they are kind of phasing out after a while. But what's so great is then you can remarket to them with different messaging. And so you can hit them with a whole string of different things. You can hit them with hey, the social aspect, the science behind it, the natural message. And what's cool is you can hit your net with those other messages and see what works. And it's the same with email marketing. And it's the same with, overcoming concerns in a sales pitch. Let's say it doesn't resonate. Well, okay, let's try some different messages and figure out what they're going to respond to,
So when you do that retargeting, let's say, we'll pick, minivans, because everybody kind of at least understands a little bit about a minivan. Let's say that the ad starts right out with, hey, this Ford minivan has a 5-star safety rating. And boom, I click out and I just go, never mind. Right? Because I'm interested in cup holders, right? I want 47 cup holders in my van. I don't care if my kids are safe. I want cup holders because they keep spilling in my van, right? So that's my hot point. And then it's gas mileage, and then safety is last. So would you retarget me if I opt out quickly on the 5-star safety rating? But I did look at it. So, at a minimum, I'm in the market for a vehicle, and I'm probably in the market for a minivan, because the ad said, it's a video for a minivan. So would you say, okay, if they opt out too quickly, if they opt out on the safety, then hit them up with gas mileage, hit them up with cup holders, hit them up with in-car entertainment before you go back to the safety rating?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And that's kind of what's cool about the new age of digital marketing. Digital ad spending for the first time just overtook overall TV spending, and it's a lot harder to retarget with TV. Right. TV, you have to pick a message and kind of stick with it, and you can do some focus group testing and yada, yada, yada. But exactly what you just explained is that sales funnel that you can use with this, which is pretty cool. And it's so interesting, Wes, it's the same thing that we have been doing for thousands of years, selling fruit in the marketplace, in Egypt 2,000 years ago. Getting someone to be interested in your fruit stand, showing why your fruit's different. And then there's the relationship aspect of, maybe your fruit's the same as everybody else's, but they just like you better.
Right.
And you're an entertaining guy. You put more effort into the conversation, and they're getting some incremental value out of that. And sometimes they're even willing to pay more for it, right?
Right.
it's all those same universal selling mechanics that you always talk about that are working with digital marketing today. And, we have all these tricks and these retargeting and dynamic retargeting based on what page of the website you went to and these landing pages. But at the end of the day, I think you nailed it, what you said, Wes. Sometimes we overlook the message in the message itself and just being powerfully persuasive. Right. And realizing that sometimes the guy next to you does have better fruit, but people just like you better.
Yep.
So
you're saying I don't need to throw my hand in front of the screen. Hey, tap that. Or maybe I still do, but maybe not.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just about being engaging, and,
right.
and we see so many elements, Wes, of what works with the creative. And I think we use it in our own sales pitches to our clients all the time is these memorable stories that people can relate to and that they remember. Just being relatable in general, right? Sounding kind of vulnerable and kind of honest and relating to an issue without overselling it and almost showing a little bit of the true, sincere nature of it. People identifying with, oh yeah, that's me. Then there's the comedy aspect of it, of just entertaining somebody. There's a lot of value to just entertainment.
Right.
Like, man, I don't know if I want that product that much, but that video is hilarious and I got to laugh. So I might just buy it because of that. And then there's the shock value of, wow, I can't believe they put all that together. What a creative idea that they used. And now I'm interested. I'm going to go look at the website just because they put so much effort into this thing. So there's all these elements that you can do that at the end of the day, I feel like video and commercials, it really is just salesmanship at the end of the day.
Oh yeah. But one thing I would warn my listeners on is striving to be too entertaining at the risk of compelling. Right? I mean, we saw that back in the day with Super Bowls and the .com. I mean, there were some very creative ads that didn't make any money. People had stupid money. Even the whole Yo Quiero Taco Bell, right? That thing, you're probably too young to even remember that one.
Oh, I remember Yo Quiero Taco Bell. I had a Taco Bell dog. I'd press it and it would say
well,
that.
That's just it. There are actually sales of Chihuahuas went up more than sales of tacos. It was a creative, memorable campaign. It just wasn't effective.
We've had the same thing happen to us before, Wes. We had a video once where we pulled out all the stops. We went huge with it, and it wasn't on message, and it wasn't selling enough. And what's so funny is after that, we kind of felt bit by that. We spent so much on that video, so big. And so our next one, we said, let's go a little bit lower budget, just simpler. Let's have fewer scenes. Let's have, a little bit less production value. And let's really take all the time that we have focusing on the sale. Let's focus on the sale. And what was really interesting is it worked. It worked. And we've seen every time that pendulum, right, between creative and entertainment and engaging. Anytime that goes above the sale and really nailing that powerful, persuasive sale, it doesn't work. So that is so true. You can never lose the core message, or you could waste a lot of money really quick on entertaining a lot of people for free.
I see too many people, they want to show their ads, I don't know, to their spouse, to their parents. They want them to like it. It's like, no, that's not the goal. You don't get paid because your grandmother likes your billboard, right? Your grandmother likes your video.
Yeah.
Unless, you're selling orthopedics to senior citizens, then maybe that's important. Otherwise, it has no bearing whatsoever. It's universal. I've seen it my whole career. And, I'm always trying to talk the client down off the ledge. It's like,
we just recently had a client say, well, my wife doesn't really like the way that actor's face looks.
Yeah.
And we couldn't say it because you can only say certain things, right? But, it's kind of like, well, is your wife a commercial director?
Yeah.
Is she a casting agent?
Right.
Does she, you know? And what I love about getting this data with this with Facebook and YouTube ads is it kind of eliminates a lot of arguments, because what we were able to do with that client is say, okay, you don't like the way this actress looks. Well, we're going to have a different one. We'll try both in this scene, and then we'll go test it and see which one gets people's credit cards out. And the one we picked sold better. And that's what's interesting too, is I love what you just said, Wes, is there's a balance between what you like and what sells.
Right.
And they're not always the same. They're not usually the same.
So you're doing some ads here. I'm looking at Nordic Track. Is that Kobe Bryant with Turkish Airlines? Why is Kobe Bryant slinging Turkish Airlines?
Well, Kobe Bryant is the biggest, or at least was the biggest athlete in North America. And then Lionel Messi's the biggest athlete in the whole world. So Turkish Airlines put them together to kind of have a universal appeal. And it worked. That was the most viral ad of all time.
So what can a small business learn from you? I mean, Nordic Track has a big budget, so they can do, multiple videos, multiple takes, multiple iterations, test the heck out of it. My local chiropractic client, he doesn't have that kind of money. But he needs to be doing more video, right?
Yep.
How can he learn from you?
Yeah, video doesn't always have to be expensive, right? What at the end of the day, you got to just figure out what is the one thing that convinces people to buy. What is that one thing? And then you just focus in on that. And I would say, Wes, the most important thing to spend money on is not your camera, your lighting, your set, your cast. The most important thing is writing. And that is the one thing that everyone misses. So if you've got, let's say you're a chiropractor, you've got $500 to spend on a video, you should be spending $300 of that on a writer. Right. And then film it on an iPhone, throw a cheap mic on there and edit it yourself. Right. Writing is the thing that everyone misses. It's the thing that everyone messes up. Right.
Amen. As a writer, you're speaking to me. I've written copy for clients, and we're going to head into the studio, and I've been doing this a long time. I'm really good on the camera. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, you want to bet? And every time when that red light goes on, they freeze.
Yeah.
It's like, look, at a minimum, we're going to have an outline on this teleprompter. At a minimum.
Yeah.
People that just think they're going to get it, they don't. It's just, and it has taken me years to get good on the camera, because it's just different. It's different than working a crowd. It's different than just sitting one-on-one with somebody at the kitchen table. I can see their feedback and I can adjust. But man, when you're just staring at this blank lens.
It's true. It's true. Acting is tough, and very few people can do it, because the minute you're on screen, you start thinking about how you should act, and all of a sudden you're not acting. You're being someone you're not, and it just doesn't feel authentic. You can tell when people are acting. I've shown up in a few of our videos before. I usually get in there with a small line, and so I've had some coaching from these.
Is that you in the back on this Nordic Track? What is that, like 400 pounds you're curling? That's pretty good.
Yeah, I was 450 with the pinky.
One-handed.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Just threw it above my head, and it's funny though. The coaching I always get from actors, the best actors we've ever worked with, is just don't try. Right. Especially with comedy, don't try too hard. Just don't try, And so, as one thing you said, Wes, actually reminded me of something that's really important. We used to make very TV-oriented commercials where there'll be something huge happening. And the last year or so, we have focused on spokesperson videos. And the reason is our data showed us that people like to connect with a human being with a face and it's what we're conditioned to. It's what is the most persuasive to us. And, if you're selling a car and you've got 50 cars in the desert, making some crazy thing, it's really impressive. That may not persuade you as much as a really good actor just talking directly to you.
Right.
And so maybe he's talking to you while all these cars are going everywhere doing something crazy. Right. So we have kind of abandoned the crazy viral video stuff, the big production stuff. We still do some big productions, but we almost always now have it based around a spokesperson, because nothing is more persuasive, Right. And it's actually kind of shocks me that 4,000-year-old thing is translated to digital. It's still true.
You need to listen to the sales podcast a little more. You wouldn't have been surprised. I'm just saying. So how would this work? And I'll just use this Nordic track because it's on the homepage here. Would you run this entire ad, on the right side of Facebook, or as a sponsored post, or would it be a short piece of it and they got to click to go away and watch the rest of it, or how would you split this up?
Yeah, so we ran a lot of YouTube pre-roll ads, and then a lot of ads in the news feed in Facebook. We haven't seen great results from the side rail. So usually it's right in your news feed. So while you're scrolling down, seeing what your grandma's cat's doing and your annoying friend ate for breakfast, all that stuff is showing up right there in the news feed. It automatically plays, has a learn more button, and you press that. And then we're usually showing that to a broader group of people. And then we're kind of segmenting remarketing videos or images that usually are related to that video, remarketing to them in that news feed. So that's how we usually do it.
And what I've been told is put captions on everything. So it's like some crazy percentage, like the majority of videos are watched on silent.
That's true. The data we see is over 60%.
Wow.
So it's people on the toilet, people in bed ignoring their spouse, shouldn't be, in a work meeting, at work. Yeah, people that don't have sound on more than they do have sound on.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
So do you run this entire ad then? So they're going to watch it all on Facebook? And
yeah.
More. And is it going to be, do you continue that video, or is it like the next chapter, but it's still that video? Or is it, I don't even know what, a web form or an opt-in or something even deeper?
So we've had the most success with these 3 to 5 minute videos, which, as a video ad, and I'd say that's probably one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation is that long videos tend to do much better. And we've tested it. We've tested 15, 30 second, 1 minute, 2 minute, and it's usually, if your video is really good and it's keeping people's attention for 3, 4, 5 minutes, it's just the fact that they're staying with you long enough and that they're interested enough what you're saying that they're going to remember. It's like when you go into Costco, right, and the guy's selling pots and pans. You walk by the guy, he's talking about pots and pans, you move on, right? You walk by, the guy's like flipping them everywhere. He's got some crazy cool stories he's telling. He's really happy and he's energetic. You could tell he wants to be there. You may sit and stand there for 4 or 5 minutes. And every second that goes by, your brain is starting to rationalize and justify this purchase.
Right.
And that's what we are seeing with these video ads. And that's part of the reason we do bigger productions, is because there gets a point where you got to do some stuff to get people interested and keep them engaged. Because it can get a little boring to watch someone talk for 4 or 5 minutes unless there's some other stuff going on to keep it interesting.
Yeah, and I've asked that of some other people, and it's so funny. I was flying home yesterday for my 25th college reunion, and I was on Southwest, and I was watching a TV show they were streaming. And so probably the first time I had to see an ad in a long time, at least where I had to, right? Usually I go view them on purpose to break them down from YouTube or something. But man, it's just so fast paced, most of the ads. I mean, boom, 1.5, 2 seconds, bam, another image. But you're talking about having a spokesperson like for a car. I see, Matthew McConaughey, right? People say I sound like him, all right. And
it's pretty good.
He's driving around and thinking about what I'm doing, driving my Lincoln. So, something like that as a spokesman versus the splashy skidding around and parking, sliding it sideways. So are you still kind of showing the product, but a lot more of the person versus super fast? Because like here, again, on the Nordic track, I'm watching this video, they're hopping around a pretty good bit. They're literally hopping around, but then you're changing, they're sliding under on the thing. I got to go do that. Let me know next time you do a Nordic track video.
Sounds good.
You're changing every 3 seconds roughly.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that super fast pace versus a spokesman just telling the story?
There's a big difference in the media, right? So if you get a TV commercial, unless someone has TiVo, they kind of have to watch your commercial until they get back to their show.
Right.
What that means is you have more time, if you choose to be more cinematic and develop the story, develop the character, which is what they did with that Matthew McConaughey ad. Digital, it's a lot harder to do that because people have the option to click away. And so what's worked for us is high energy and a very fast-paced format has been what's worked for us. Generally, people have ADHD pretty severely when they're on online ads, just because they have the option of leaving.
Right.
So that's kind of why we do that.
When you have that spokesperson, though, is that still high energy?
It can be.
That for digital?
It can be. If you've got a spokesperson who is really good and really engaging, and they're really great at storytelling and their pacing and telling jokes or relating with you in a unique way, it works. It's just like who you're going to talk to if you're at a cafe or a bar. You got this monotone guy over here who just keeps talking about his weird hobby that he has, versus this guy who's smiling. He's having a good time. He's got all these interesting stories. He's relating things to you, and he's engaging with you. You're going to pay more attention to this guy. So it's all about getting the right spokesperson, and it just depends on the product, what that is. We chose one spokeswoman once for Piper Y. It's a natural deodorant. We chose Man & Matthews because she's really approachable and relatable. But what we noticed in a lot of her stuff is she does these like funny body movements that she does. And we realized that kind of keeps you watching. And so we built this concept around her in a yoga studio where she's talking about this all-natural deodorant. She's relating it to people in the room. She's relating to bad deodorants to people in the room, like the toxic friend and, the friend that like is flaky, and she's on her way out of the yoga studio and she's bailing on lunch. And then while she's doing that, she's moving around while she's explaining it to you, and the whole rest of the classroom's trying to follow her movements because she's the yoga coach. See, so there's something going on with this spokesperson beyond just her face. There's an underlying concept. There's some story arc that you don't even always recognize. Oh, she's in a studio, she's teaching a class. Everyone's kind of confused because they can't keep up with her. And she's pointing out people in the class and relating them to the bad deodorant you don't want. It's kind of subliminal, So sometimes the concept is just as important as the spokesperson. So for this chiropractor, right, that's making a video about his chiropractic practice, it's not enough to just be a spokesperson. There's got to be some concept to it, some gimmick, whether he's walking through the office and things are happening as he's walking through, or whether he, whatever it is, right? There's got to be a gimmick. And sometimes the gimmick is corny, sometimes it's not corny, but it kind of always has to be a gimmick.
But in a good way.
In a good way. A positive gimmick.
Yeah. Very cool. So can we send people to learn more about you? I've got your chamber.media page. Is that the best place?
That is probably the best place. I'm also really active on LinkedIn, Travis Chambers.
Okay.
On LinkedIn, and my Twitter is at Travis_Chambers.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this. I've been focused on this for about 6 years. I started just agency 3 years ago. So I've been doing this full time, in this way for 3 years now.
Yeah, this guy with the hairy chest shaved into a bra, you're going to have to take that down, man. I think I got that little baby puke, little burp in your mouth kind of thing. Yeah, you got to take that down.
It performed. That obviously was an ad for men. So.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think women would have liked it, but.
All right. Very cool. You got a lot of samples here. TiVo and 2XU and Kobe Bryant. So good stuff. So I recommend everybody check that out. Well, man, Travis Chambers, I will let you get back to your fun in Hawaii. Next time I'm in Salt Lake, though, I'll let you know. And you can we'll make a video together. How about that?
That sounds good.
All right, man. Well, have a great day. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks, Wes.
I can't tell you how many scripts I've written for short and long ads. Things for asbestos remediation training, executive coaching, yacht rental, good grief, my own programs. It's just a little bit of what I could help you with in the Make Every Sale course. I love what Travis was doing. I'm glad he got recommended to me by Owen Himsath. I've had Owen on the show as well. He's a video guy, lives here in Southern California and beat cancer. Good guy, good story there. But you've got to get video right. It's really growing in importance. But you still need to understand why you're doing the video. That's so important. At the end of the day, you're making a sale. So are you getting that right? And I tell you what, it's hard to do alone. I have hired a coach helping me make new programs, new videos, new landing pages, new lead magnets for the Make Every Sale course. The best players, the best producers, the people getting stuff done surround themselves with experts. And we invest heavily in them. It's no accident, it's not a coincidence that I started making a lot more money when I started hiring a coach. And that happened. My very first one was way back in, when was it? I want to say around 2002, maybe 2003. It was a real estate guy. I was doing real estate investing, and I paid him $500. It was the first time I ever paid anybody individually for assistance with some type of business, marketing. And I've spent $5,000 and then $10,000 and then $25,000 a year in getting the help that I think that I needed. Sometimes they haven't been as good as I had hoped, but I've always learned from it, always moved forward, and I've always made more money. So one way or another, it pays off. And so, your investment in the Make Every Sale course, is a lot more affordable than anything I've seen out there, especially with as much direct access to the creator that you get, and with a 1-year money-back guarantee. I haven't seen anything like it. So trying to make this easy for you. I don't know what else to do. You got to have some skin in the game. You got to do the work. Like they say, those weights won't lift themselves. Those sales calls won't be made. Those landing pages won't be written. Okay? I can show you. I can teach you. I'll help you. We'll all help proofread it, help you with the script. You got to show up. So head on over, makeeverysale.com. Be sure to check out what Travis is up to when you get time. He's a really good guy, very accessible and approachable. So he's somebody you need to know. It's going to help you. So share this episode. Give us a 5-star review. And now, go sell something.